My name's Lewis. I'm a barber in Southampton, and I'm a strongman competitor and third in England at the moment. And this is my story. I was surrounded by negative situations. There was a lot of us growing up, a lot of siblings, not much money, mum and dad separated. But yeah, I guess growing up I had enough opportunity where I could have succeeded and done well. My school life was up and down. I was intelligent, I was capable, but I was distracted, and that's what led me down the wrong path. I wanted to impress everyone, and that's a good thing now. Now I'm doing the right thing, but back then, impressing someone or impressing other people at school and in the streets and stuff like that was always violence. So yeah, I guess I was an extremely good footballer. Many people may disagree. Those who have played with me would agree. I had a lot of opportunity with football. I'd say football was my start. I was athletic. I had the foundations that I'd achieve something in sport. Yeah, I guess that's the beginning where it all went wrong, I guess. I'd say at school, towards the end, a sort of puberty sort of age, realising that I just wanted to be feared and respected, and I wanted everyone to be scared of me, but I also wanted people to like me, and I wanted to be funny. So I was stuck. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to be. It was the fighting that got the better of me. I was constantly fighting, constantly. Everything led down to violence. And then you add in alcohol, drinking, getting drunk on the streets with your mates, doing stupid stuff. I guess you could say that there could be a lot of men that could be sat where I was sat. Doesn't necessarily make you a bad person for the rest of your life, but it was definitely a rough ride. So yeah, I only had myself to blame, but in my early teens it was always the answer. There was no discussion. I felt confident enough that was the way to answer everything. I didn't realise the consequences could be so catastrophic and severe, not only for myself, but obviously the people involved. So, we go back to that night. I got involved in a serious fight, and a few people ended up getting hospitalised, and one person affected a lot more, and I was arrested. I was naive at the time, I was young, I hadn't experienced anything in life. I was a local lad from a local town. I didn't know what life was. I didn't have any clue. So the first 10 months were probably the most difficult, because I was learning how to be in prison and adapting. I guess the skills that I picked up from my teens led me to survive in prison. That's the only way that I could put it, in terms of that's the only positive for those skills, because it's a terrible place, but I also had to go through that in order to be where I am now. So I was sentenced. So my original sentence was 10 years. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff that we can talk about, like day release and stuff like that, to rehabilitate and reintegrate into public and sort of learn how to be a normal society member. So we build ourselves up physically, strength-wise and size, to mask really who's behind it. It's an armour, it's a body armour. So I guess you want to be bigger and stronger in order to survive, but you don't realise that you're actually masking what's really going on. So communication would have been something that I'd rather bench press. Learning how to deal with confrontation instead of violence being my immediate answer, that would have been something that I'd wanted to squat. So I wish I'd learnt those things, and I wish I could carry that as my my first talking point. But realistically, in the world we live in, especially inside in that concentrated environment, it's all about how much you're bench pressing, unfortunately. The release process for someone as a long-termer wasn't just gates open release like you see on the films. You have an assessment period of 6 to 12 months. You can't just let people out, including myself, immediately at a certain point, because what do? The reoffending rate would be colossal. People need somewhere to live, people need family ties built, community ties, driving lessons. There's so much to just letting someone out of prison, and those open prisons, those Cat Ds, really help, because you're scared of getting out. This is your world. You can't just pop out and it all vanish, especially with some of the sort of PTSD stuff you can carry, and it leaves its mark. So knowing what I had to achieve, set by the parole board, certain ticks and boxes, but also taking those boxes seriously, because in order to have healthy relationships with people and partners and family, you really need to understand how it all works, and you're not in that selfish, concentrated environment that I was in for so long. So my first move when I got released from prison was, I had a big family meal. I remember it to this day, and it was very strange, because there was nieces and nephews that were sort of involved at the time, running around and stuff like that, and to see that gave me an indication of how long I've been away. But yeah, I had some very close people to me, and still close to me today at that table, so that was important for me. I'll be honest, I didn't keep up the training. When I came out, I caught up with life. I partied a lot, went to a few festivals, dated, just really caught up, and it's a self-discovery path that I didn't think that I'd be entering into my mid-20s. I can't remember fully going back to it. I think it was my 25th birthday. It was messy, and I thought, I don't need to keep putting myself in this environment. Drunk male environment is definitely a red flag for me. So why do I keep rolling the dice every time that I go out every weekend? So I guess that was a wake-up call for me. Got back in the gym. It was an exciting time, actually. I remember touching the iron again properly and feeling like my shape came back. Muscle memory is a powerful thing. There's lads that are complimenting you, and it's a great environment to be in them commercial gyms. Obviously I quickly outgrew it, but I enjoyed it. It was good networking. I met a lot of people that I'm still amazing friends with now, so solid friends. Actually my two best friends, two of the closest people to me on this planet, I met in that commercial gym, and they're still with me on every strongman journey and every prep. So I grew up on a farm, and I was always lifting, like, oh Dad, can I lift this, can I lift that, like generators, shed panels that we built up, and like anything heavy, tractor tires, and anything that I could find that he would say that I wouldn't be strong enough to lift, because I was just a boy, I would find a way to move it and lift it. So when the plates are falling off the end of the bar, and the hammer strap machines and the plates again falling off the end, I guess it was time for me to realise that I'd outgrown that gym, and you can show off as much as possible, but it's not going to get you anywhere. I was introduced to Aaron Page. Unfortunately, no longer in this world, but I know he's breaking records somewhere. When I met him, he was a professional strongman. I'd watched him on TV while I was in prison as well, and he's from Southampton. And yeah, it was weird. It was sort of like being in front of him was like, I've been watching you on TV, now I'm training with you. So yeah, he was a real like drop back moment for me, where I was like, fuck, people are this strong. Like, it made no sense to me at the time, because I was like, this is insane. I was at a point in my life where something needed to change, to just get me away from being a lad that was strongman. I was, when I first ever lifted a log, first ever deadlifted properly, first ever squatted properly. Yeah, he put me into a competition called Basingstoke's Strongest Man, so you can see that on my Instagram. It was my first ever competition. Funny story, he gave me a new packet of knee sleeves, and I didn't know how to put them on. I'd never put them on, and I didn't have a belt, and I got laughed at. So I was in my trainers, I was in my PE kit, and I won every event. I guess that was the first time that I thought, these men that I'm competing against have been doing this a little while. they're nowhere near obviously the strength level that like UK's, Brits, Worlds is a different level. But at the time it was like, these guys are massive. Yeah, I guess that's when I knew that I had something for this sport. Being stood on that, it was like a little makeshift podium, but the feeling I got, and it's still the same now, like a sense of like, you did this, you got this far. And it might not seem that far to some people, especially other people in this sport or other people in life, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't get any further than what it is now. I'll be super satisfied. So I guess that's a good way of looking at it. A lot of my clients will know this story because I get asked this question a lot. It was my first time that I'd been off of a category A, so I was allowed to share a cell. He pulled out this shoebox from under the bunk bed, and the clippers, the wire was hanging out the bottom, and it had some naff tape holding it together, and there was probably hepatitis or something all over the blades, and we used to burn them with lighters to clean them. And he said to me, can you cut my hair? And I think, fucking hell, if I say no, like, what's going to happen? Obviously the guy went on to become a good cellmate, a good friend, but I didn't know how to cut hair. I'd never cut hair before. I didn't know what haircut he wanted, but it definitely wasn't the one that he got. I had a sort of a moment where everyone in prison needed a haircut. There was a woman that came in once every 3 months, and she could cut, we only get an hour out of cell, so she could cut sort of like 5-6 people, and there's 120 plus people on wing. So no one's getting a haircut. So the whole cutting hair thing, I thought everyone needs a haircut. The currency in prison is tuna and mackerel, and I like the gym. So in order to get more protein, I need to cut more hair. I guess that's where the barbers began. So I was a self-taught barber for a long time, a number of years, and it wasn't until I reached one of my CCAT establishments, so a bit later on down the line, that I did the barbering course and got my MVQs. The strongest barber in the world. I love my job. I am so passionate about my job, so I think that's why I've done so well. But the person that you have in your chair, no matter where the chair is, in a nice barber shop like this, or on a prison wing with some dodgy lights flickering and a shitty pair of clippers, so I still get the same satisfaction. Even today, I still get super interesting clients, and mental health's been a massive factor the last few years, so I'd like to say that I've been there for a lot of people, and you know, it's just the haircut. It's a term that's thrown out there, but I try and make it a lot more than just a haircut. So I love my job. I wouldn't have the life I have now without my job. It's weird because up until England's Strongest Man, I was barbering for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I was skipping meals, and I was, you know, some days I was barely on 1,000 calories throughout the day. Mentally, with the feet and the backache, and then having to go and deadlift, yeah, it was tough. I guess it taught me a lot more than what I was expecting. So it taught me that no matter what, no matter how hard your job is or how long you're on your feet, you still got to perform. So to reach the level that I've reached now without going part-time in terms of work, you know, possibilities are endless now. I've got a great team behind me. Everything's changed now, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'd say the thing that made me go part-time was pressure. Pressure not only applied by people around me, but I applied it to myself in order to give the best version of myself at my next show. It's a televised show, television debut, it's massive. Going part-time has enabled me to get those percentages correct that I was missing out on while barbering. You know, all those long days, long weeks, not getting the calories in. Things had to change because now I've stepped up to, you know, effectively the guys that I'm competing against, you know, they're pretty much full-time pros, some of them, so I want to be up there with the best. I've got to start acting like the best. I'm coached by one of the best strongman coaches, Rob Frampton. My training partner is one of the strongest people on the planet. Former Britain's Strongest Man, Adam Bishop. You know, I've been training with him now for a few weeks. We've got the rest of the year planned out for, he's got World's Strongest Man, I've got UK's and England's Strongest Man. So, you know, training with people like that, with Rob in my ear, and yeah, it's fucking mental. The way it can change your life, having those sorts of people around you, and it makes you realise what you can achieve in this sport. So yeah, I'd say that was why I went part-time. If you're not invested academically at school, and you physically or athletically, you might be good at something else, like I was. Yeah, just chuck yourself in. The old cliche of the local boxing clubs, and that stops, lads being aggressive. And it's not just boxing. Strongman gyms are a massive part of the youth today. Everyone wants to be in shape. Everyone's influenced by Instagram and what they see on YouTube. So I feel like a lot more youngsters are getting involved in gym. But yeah, sport's always been there for all of us. Sport is probably the biggest and most powerful movement on earth still, especially in youngsters. They're inspired by these mega stars in football and tennis and rugby, stuff like that. So yeah, go give it everything. Where do I see myself in the future? Top of the British scene in strongman. I want to be the strongest man in the country. I want to change young people's mindsets and lives. I want to show them that no matter what happens or what goes wrong or how bad it goes wrong, that you are something and you belong to something or to someone. Yeah, I'd say be yourself. Just don't make those stupid mistakes.